Over the past few years, more people have started asking this particular question when it comes to retirement. Should I move my 401k into a Gold IRA? It's not a small decision, and it's not to be taken lightly. And depending on where you look, you'll find very different answers. Some people will tell you it's a smart way to protect your savings. Others say there are too many fees and the whole setup's just too confusing. Now, I'm not qualified to give you a yes or no, but I have done my homework and will continue to do so. There's plenty of information to be found at preciousmetalreviews.com. But we can walk through this carefully, step by step. You're ultimately the one to decide whether a Gold IRA conversion actually makes sense for you. So let's start with the basics. Before you can compare anything, you need to understand what you're comparing. A 401k is what most people are familiar with. It's a retirement account, usually through an employer, where your money is invested in things like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. In other words, your account value is tied directly to the financial markets. But a Gold IRA works differently. It's still a retirement account. Instead of holding financial assets, it holds physical precious metals. Those can include gold, silver, and in some cases other approved metals. You can check with the IRS to see what current metals are currently approved. These metals have to be stored in a secure, approved facility. You can't keep them at your house. So when people compare these two options, what they're really comparing is this. Financial assets, we'll call those apples, and physical assets like the gold, and we'll call those oranges. So you're comparing apples to oranges, and that difference is what drives most of the conversation. One of the biggest reasons people consider moving some of their savings from a 401k into a Gold IRA is diversification. If most or all of your retirement savings are tied to the stock market, that can feel risky to some people, especially during periods of volatility. For example, if the market drops significantly and your entire portfolio is tied to it, your retirement balance can drop right along with it. We've already seen that happen with wild market swings. So the idea of adding something different, something that doesn't move in exactly the same way, can feel like a way to balance things out. And that's where gold and silver enter the picture, not as a replacement, but as a potential addition. Another factor is inflation. Over time, the value of currency can decline. And when that happens, purchasing power drops. We all know what happens there. Some investors look at gold as a way to help offset that, not because it's perfect, but because it has a good track record over time. There's also a big elephant in the room trying to hide in the corner. Things like we're seeing now, market instability and geopolitical issues. Also long-term financial trends. These can all cause people to change the thinking about where their money is held. These are a few of the reasons people consider making changes. And on the surface, they make sense. But we need to slow down and look at the big picture. One of the biggest differences between a 401k and a Gold IRA is cost. A typical 401k, especially through an employer plan, still has fees. But they can be relatively low because sometimes the employer covers part of them for you. A Gold IRA is different. It usually includes an initial setup fee, an annual custodian fee, storage fees, and a pricing spread when buying or selling metals inside the account. Now, each of these on its own might not seem like a big deal, but over time, they can add up. And that's something a lot of people don't fully realize at the beginning. Another difference is complexity. A 401k is relatively simple. You contribute, you choose your investments, and the account is managed with a familiar system. A Gold IRA involves more moving parts. There's the custodian, a metals dealer, a storage facility, and they all work together. There are also specific IRS rules that have to be followed. You can see more at preciousmetalreviews.com/IRS approved Gold IRA metals. You can see what metals qualify, and how they're stored, and how transactions are handled. For some people, that structure is fine. For others, it feels like a lot to manage. But with a good vendor, these are handled by your account manager. Another key difference is how returns are generated. With a 401k, your investments may produce dividends, interest, and long-term growth. Gold works differently. It doesn't generate income. There's no dividends, no interest payments. Its value is based entirely on price movement over time. So when you step back and look at it, this becomes a trade-off. On one side, you have your growth potential, income generation, and simplicity. But on the other side, you have diversification, tangible assets, and a different type of exposure. Neither one is really better or worse. They're just different. You can get a general overview at preciousmetalreviews.com/Gold IRA pros and cons. Now let's talk briefly about the conversion itself. Conversions. This is another area where people can run into issues. Moving a 401k into a Gold IRA typically involves something called a rollover. That means transferring funds from one retirement account into another one. If it's done correctly, it can be tax deferred. If it's done incorrectly, then you may have to pay taxes or penalties. So please don't rush. And it's not something to do without understanding the process. For many investors, a full conversion isn't even necessary. You can choose a partial approach instead. They might keep a portion of their retirement in traditional investments and allocate a smaller portion to precious metals. That kind of approach can provide diversification without completely changing the structure of your portfolio. For others, staying fully within a 401k may feel more comfortable with their goals, especially if they prioritize simplicity, lower costs, and income-generating investments. So when you ask, should I convert my 401k into a Gold IRA? The real answer is definitely, maybe, but it depends. You're probably thinking, depends on what? Depends on your goals. Depends on your comfort with risk. It depends on how you want your retirement portfolio to be restructured. The most important thing is understanding what you're gaining, not what you're giving up. You must know that every financial decision involves trade-offs. If you're researching this further, one of the most useful things you can do is compare how Gold IRA companies structure their fees, pricing, and overall process between different dealers. Use a quick reference guide at preciousmetalreviews.com/Gold IRA pros and cons as a starting point. That's where the real differences start to show. If you'd like to explore all the details, I've put together additional comparisons and breakdowns at preciousmetalreviews.com. And if this video helped clarify things for you, please feel free to subscribe and share along with others that may be in the same boat as you are. I'll continue sharing straightforward information to help you better understand how these pieces fit into a long-term retirement plan. Thanks for watching, and make it a great day.